That's how bad it's gotten. It's horrible. It's horrible. That's burden. That's expense. That's the cost of living. You understand? That's slavery. It's a theft of your time, your labor. And it's that sense you have of being victimized perpetually, chronically, and increasingly. And it's a bad feeling. It's like having an insecurity gauge. The fear, financial fear is real, tangible fear. And the evildoers just keep turning that sucker up, man. They just go pushing the envelope as far as they can to see when the dam will burst. And they're just, whoa, whoa, we're getting a little close. Whoa, whoa, we got, whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow it down. We're boiling the pot. Oh, the frogs are getting mushy. They're getting overcooked. We know the rubbers. So this is the good news for young people. So greetings and encouragements, okay, is what I have to offer you. Blessings is all I have for everybody. That's how I deal with stuff. I purge my heart. I turn it over to God. I say, God, you see all these temptations to feel this way and that way, that negative and hatred and anger and all this crap. And I say, show me your forgiveness. Let me just understand. You understand my heart. I got to pour it out. Nobody else can understand it. I can't pour it out thoroughly and properly. I don't feel comfortable with it with anybody else on the face of the earth. Maybe you might be the same way. Okay, and you got to turn it over to God and say, purge it, man. You got to dump. You got to be an egalitarian. You got to say, God, whatever is your will, put it in my heart. Let it be my will. Let it make sense. Let me be able to transmit it and convey it to others because it's right and proper way to think, the proper perception and perspective about stuff. You'll help me sort everything out, man. You know me and love me in a way that I can't know and love myself. When I feel unlovable, you still love me. When I feel I don't deserve your amazing grace, you still love me. And it's like that for all of us. And we need that. We're all sinners. There's only two kinds of sinners, my friends. Those that confess their sins and they're contrite about it. They don't like it, but they say, I'm weak. I don't like it. But you know what? I mean, I don't know why. It's like you don't understand this stuff. Okay, and this has been going on through the ages. It's organic suffering from the original sin, the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, we should be oblivious. We shouldn't even be able to sin. You understand? Nothing we should be able to do, would qualify as, quote, sin. We should be oblivious to it. It just blind. Don't know what's that. You understand? That's the way it should be. Just like all the other creatures. They don't understand it. And we were made to be like that, but we chose to disobey God, didn't listen to the instructions, and we're paying the price to this day for thousands of years. It's like it's in our DNA. So we're all working under a handicap behind the eight ball, okay? And we should be lucky that God understands and that God is all good and he calls all of us to understand it. It's all simple, childlike knowledge. I mean, unless we be like little children, we'll not enter the kingdom of heaven. You got to have that innocent, pure heart. So you got to dump daily, purge, pour your heart out so you don't have a metaphorical or literal heart attack. I really think that there's a correlation between, the metaphorical, the spiritual heart, and the literal physical heart. I mean, I really do. We can't hold stuff in, man. We got to dump it somewhere. We got to pour it out somewhere. Yes, I'm screwed up, God. Yes, I know I'm a fallen sinner, and you know what? I don't like it. I wish I did know what sin was, and if I could go back in time and not eat from the tree of forbidden fruit and not have any knowledge of sin, what that is, and be oblivious to it, I'll choose that. Because see, God knows your heart. When you do that, you confess it. Okay, and I mean, it's all we can do, but it's there. I mean, we're all. Hey, look. I mean, we understand this stuff. I mean, it's as simple as nakedness to understand what I'm talking about here. Yeah, it's a very uncomfortable subject. You think I'm comfortable just because I've talked about it in the past? I'm not at all. I'm no different from anybody else. I'm approved at heart in a lot of ways. Okay, but there's a side of me that it just, like every other lustful person out there. I mean, it's beautiful. At least it's God's creation, right? I mean, so there's some consolation there that we should not condemn anyone, overly judge them, and we should not condemn or overly judge ourselves. And only God can help us to figure all this stuff out and make some peace of it and to comfort and encourage us and let us go forth and confront one day at a time. But you've got to be an egalitarian. You've got to want the best for everybody. All the same stuff you want for yourself and your family. All the stuff that you want for your friends. People that you would die in their stead. Okay, those kind of people. Then you've got to want for everybody. You've got to want to set the captives free, because that is God's will. And for us to be free is as simple as understanding that is a state of affairs that he wants for us. So it's inevitable that it's coming. Okay, and just looking at things practically, okay, from God's point of view, God's eye view, we know it's God's planet. Whose planet is it? It's God's planet. And then by extension, it belongs to all of us to share. So all these valuable resources, and at the top of that list of valuable resources that were granted to us, gifted to us, given to us, is each other's labor. You understand? And it's the most natural thing in the world to serve each other. It's very unnatural to not want to serve. I mean, it's like asking a man a simple question. Okay, do you want to be useful to society, okay, or useless? You can only choose one or the other. That's the way it is. Okay, what do you think most guys are going to do? Do you think they're going to say, well, no, I want to be appreciated. I want to be useful. I want to do something for God's sake. Wild horses in my right mind couldn't stop me from wanting to do that, from doing it no matter what. I'm going to serve. I demand on it. Free? Where does money? Money doesn't fit into that picture. That's the way it ought to be. Because if the whole planet is ours and each other's labors are ours for free, you understand that is, you see how far removed we are from that situation? You understand what I'm saying here? I mean, and my whole life I've had to watch us descend into this madness. This madness. The debasement of the money through rising cost of living, just like a scale, one of those kind of scales, you know. You put the cost of living on one end, it keeps going up. Well, guess what's happening? The worth of your money, it's going down. And then you got the mainstream media telling you that's good. They'll tell you that's the value. Value. Could you imagine if they told you the value was going up at the supermarket? You'd think, wow, I'm going to get a better deal, right? Isn't that what you're going to think? We're going to get a better deal. Is that what they're saying? We all know it's contrary. It's the opposite. That's propaganda, my friends. That's training in action. I'm trying to help you to understand that this is in our face, man. Housing values. Do they talk about the direct correlation between rents and how we're spending $50 billion a year on Section 8 housing? We're not buying people houses. A child can understand the math. It's simple math to understand in the long run it's going to be a lot cheaper to just buy people houses. But we're not going to be logical as a society, are we? We're not going to be moral. We're not going to be ethical. We're not going to be godly. And we're going to expect God's wrath to be lifted and his hand of protection to come over this nation again. Oh, my God, we're in so much trouble. Listen, I don't like trauma, but I see something looming. I mean, if we're not going to learn from this COVID and everything else, we've been through all these dubious wars and some 20 guys a day taking their own lives. And then from the military, whatever's going on. I mean, we're in trouble. I'm scared. I don't like it, and my heart hurts. But you know what? I'm going to keep speaking out my truth and let you know where I stand, friends, because I'm on your side. I mean it. I mean, may not agree with what you do. I mean, and I may, tell you. And, we've got to correct each other. I'm telling you, we've got to correct each other. If I'm your friend, I'm going to be a different guy than if I'm a yes man. If I'm your friend, I'm going to tell you the score. I'm going to tell you what's what, because we can be delusional. We got to admit that. We can be deceived. It's as simple as believing a lie. Sometimes people are very convincing, especially if they're deluded. They believe the lie. They have faith in it. They trust in it. And it's sick, and it's easy to do. Okay, we say, oh, you believe in UFOs, and we mock people. No, I say, no, whoa, 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 whoa. No, I have no faith in UFOs. I have no trust in UFOs. I do not believe in UFOs. Let me be perfectly clear. But I believe they exist, definitely. That's an incontrovertible fact. Okay, are you going to believe any history at all? Where is it from the horse's mouth? It's all testimonials. You going to believe somebody? It's just like I saw, I think it was an episode of Forensic Files or something. Maybe it was something Dateline. But this woman had lost her little girl. Some psycho freaking, you know what? He killed this little girl. Okay, I don't know if he sexually assaulted her. He's just fucking excuse my French, please. I'm sorry. But you know what? I feel I'm just as human as everybody else. When I hear these things, this little 8, 9 year old girl, I think she was, okay? You understand? And this woman, the little girl had come to her and let her know that she was okay. She saw an apparition. You could say, well, she was delusional. She wanted to believe it so much, so subconscious she believed it, and go, because there's a lot of people, they say they don't believe in any of the paranormal, nothing that goes on. But I'm here to tell you, I believe all that stuff. I really do. There's some, it's a wild universe we're part of. There's invisible stuff. They're very powerful. My dad, I remember he told me a story that he was out in the ocean. I think I might have been on the boat at the time. We were sailing around the Mediterranean quite a bit, and the English Sea and the English Channel, that area, Irish Sea, and that whole area, part of the English. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But he was telling me he had an apparition, and these guys were on some row team in Ireland. They got these competitive teams, or maybe they were training for lifeguard or something like that. And these guys had drowned. The boat had capsized. I guess my dad didn't even know about this story, but he found out about it later. But man, it was vivid the way he told it, very lucid. If it was a hallucination, it was sure. The way he described it, I mean, it really touched me, because he wasn't the kind of guy to embellish stuff or make anything up. He told me of another incident that in the Marine Corps, when he was on the battleship Iowa, a teenager, and into his 20s, early 20s, just did his 4-year stint. But he said at one point he started levitating off the deck of the boat. He was laying there, and later, and he found out about the LSD test they were doing on the servicemen without telling them. And if anybody that's done LSD knows, I mean, that's, I mean, that is really mind effing these poor guys. There's a lot there. I mean, if you don't know that you've taken something that's going to affect your mind and the way you think, oh my God, I couldn't imagine it. That'd be that. I mean, you might feel good, you might get, but you're crediting the wrong thing. Okay, it's sort of like the ego can get involved, and just this exalted idea of who I am, and megalomania. So you got to watch these kind of psychotropic drugs. I mean, ask any psychiatrist, psychologist, sociologist. I mean, they all know what I'm talking about. Okay, and I know there's been a lot of experimentation with the mushrooms and peyote, and fine. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, and I don't want to talk about it really. I mean, to each his own. They got this ecstasy now. It does, but they drain chemicals from your brain. So these are feel-good chemicals that God gave us. So I'm not a proponent of doing these kind of drugs, because God put the best drugs in your brain already. Okay, you got to look it up. There's endorphins. There's all kinds of stuff that I can't remember the names of, but they're these feel-good drugs that God put on our body and our brain. They give you those feelings of euphoria, ecstasy, and just bliss, and that sense of well-being. God gave us those drugs. Remember as a child when you felt nurtured, you felt so safe with your parents? Remember that? We lose it pretty young because we learn about the ways of the world and we go, oh my God, this is so freaking evil. It's horrible. Oh. So yeah, we get traumatized at a very young age. For me, it was 5, seeing President Kennedy getting his head shot off. But we lost America then. That's when we were thrown in the pot, and we've been cooking since then, my friends. This country's been on a downhill slide, but the good news is we're reaching the end of our rope, and there's going to have to be some relief soon, and the evildoers know it. They're going to have to do something, man. But we need a total economic reset. Minimum wage has to be revisited. It should be 50 cents an hour, but have far greater buying power than that $1 an hour in the early 60s that afforded a middle class lifestyle in America, standard of living. We'll go to church, and that's not a bad thing. A lot of socialization. It's a healthy thing for us socially and spiritually and mentally, in all ways. It's a good thing. And it's so important for people to understand what Christ gave us. It really is. And I just implore everybody to investigate on your own what this whole thing about the big deal about the shed blood of Jesus and paying for our sins and this, the ransom. But also understand that this is the final propitiation, as Scripture puts it, like the last straw. God's done. If we don't accept Christ and what He gave us, okay, what He affords us, if we listen to Him and we do what we're told and don't do what we're not told, if we get it together, we get it. We get our inextricable interconnectivity as human beings. That, the least of men represents Jesus Christ. And we start carrying people the proof is in the pudding, by the evidence. Okay, we start doing that, we're going to get blessed. But if we don't do that, things are going to keep going downhill. And my God, I look, just as a selfish man, I do not want that to happen. And you as a selfish person, you don't want that to happen, then you know what needs to be done. We've got to get it together. We've got to speak out. We've got to demand justice for other people.